Alright, I am back with another Destiny 2 video, and upon discussing the dungeon, after I beat it yesterday, I was maybe going to do a dungeon video. I just did a dungeon review on Forbes, you can read instead. I wanted to talk about damage mitigation and healing and recovery and all of that stuff as of this season. I recognize the fact that a lot of people were saying that the dungeon had the most adds of any dungeon, and the density is crazy with the scions and the incinerators and gladiators and like all of this stuff, especially in the last few sections. And yet, I really think people have to understand just what has happened with kind of the defensive capabilities of Destiny in Season of the Haunted here. And this is kind of a three-pronged thing, but the main thing, it's impossible to avoid. And you may have heard about this, but like this is a general PSA in case you have not. Resilience. They have changed resilience to be the craziest stat probably Destiny has ever had. So previously they made a big deal about how they were going to do some changes with resilience and flinch, and it was going to reduce flinch and things like that, or like maybe that was like on the table for, you know, a way to make resilience more relevant. Eventually they made it so if you have that, you take or can break out of stasis more easily, and then they changed all the stasis breakouts to 1 second anyway, so you can't even break out in time. And then, but at baseline, it was like I think it was like an 8 to 10% increase in your shield strength was resilience. So naturally, everybody just went recovery, and everyone was trying to get 100 recovery on most builds. Hunters, you might get 100 mobility for fast cooldowns and stuff, but no one ever wanted resilience. For some reason, they did not broadcast this change was coming at all, and now resilience is crazy. At tier 10, it is a permanent 40% damage reduction in PvE. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. This is protective light on permanently. That was nerfed, as you may recall, to be less, maybe because they knew this was coming, and that would just be too much. But tier 10, if you go straight on 100, is 40%. If you go one level below that at 9, it's 32. I don't know all the tiers, but the relevant tiers I think are 8, 9, and 10. 8 is still, 26% or something, so it's still significant. It just really, really ramps up at the end there. But if you're at like 5 or 6 resilience, it's not going to be enough, and you're really going to want to kind of go into the max here. So what I've done here is I'm still using all my old armor that is not really that much different than what I was using before. I don't, the exception of this Iron Triage hood, which for some reason I do not have a lot of recovery on. I don't know what happened with that one. I should probably change that. That's embarrassing. Okay, but as you can see, I have like some pretty crazy, I have a perfect 30 recovery gloves, recovery focused Starfire. This was actually one that was higher in resilience for Iron Triage. But as you can see, I put resilience mods in literally everything. Also, one of these, Ember of Wonder, gives an extra plus 10 of resilience. I don't really care about solar ignitions generating orbs of power, but I want that tier 10 resilience, or that plus 10 resilience, because even going from 8 to 9 is an extra 6% damage reduction, and then going from 9 to 10 would be an extra 8% damage reduction. This is huge. Playing at tier 10, once I swap a couple of these around, I'll be at tier 10. This is almost better by itself. And it's like playing an entirely different game. Just a permanent 40% damage reduction across the board will make you survive pretty much everything that you would have, been destroying you before. If you're familiar with running Protective Light and trying to get that up as much as you can, it is literally just that. This is so severe. I really doubt that they're going to keep it at these levels. I would not be surprised to see tier 10 reduced to like 30% or something. I'm not saying it should be nerfed, because I think Destiny has really, really lacked damage mitigation tools in the past, which is why GMs can feel kind of boring at times if you're just like sitting in the back sniping at things with bows and you can't get within 10 feet of enemies without getting instantly blown up. But I also see a lot of people complaining about, say, the dungeon, still running their old recovery builds, still doing, 3 or 4 resilience like they used to, and that means you're going to have a bad time. This is phase 1. Phase 2 has to do with seasonal mods. I guess there's some other stuff you could slide in here, like get land tank going with stacks of damage resistance. So final blows grant increased resilience and additional damage resistance. So I don't know the numbers on this, but like that's probably doing something too on those weapons if you have those. But the main thing, we have another batch of these. Armor of the Dying Star. This one is reduced damage from solar and void. You can have 2 of these on at once, so these should be 20% each, and this should be a 40% solar reduction damage, 40% void reduction. And then obviously if you're in a like very sniper specific spot, you can just put on the traditional mods for 40% sniper resist or whatever. So they're going to have these, some variants of these probably every season, I would imagine. We had, what do we have, Arc and Void last time? I don't even remember. But you can stack these, and they do also provide additional damage reduction. Stuff like Solar Wells, this is a really minor one, but you have Well of Life with Solar Wells, so that gives you increased regeneration for a short period of time. But the other major thing is Classy Restoration. Classy Restoration is one of the most insane mods I have ever seen in a seasonal pass. Usually when we talk about those are like Oppressive Darkness. They are things for offense. I have not seen a defensive one quite at this level. So this is activating your solar class ability grants you restoration. And you'll note that restoration is not recovery. Recovery and restoration are 2 different things. Restoration is like supercharged recovery, and it can stack. So what this means, especially on Warlock and Hunter, is that, so with my Starfire build, which benefits from Empowered Rift kills, I can run Empowering Rifts, and when I throw that down, I am getting 2 stacks of recovery from that mod, which is actually better than a Healing Rift, because you don't even have to wait for the casting animation to start being healed. It starts healing instantly. It heals faster than a Healing Rift. The only thing it doesn't do is overheal you for an overshield, but it's extremely good. You can also use this in conjunction with something like Phoenix Dive, I guess, but like this, you're essentially running a dual well this entire time. For Hunters, it is essentially like you are running the old unnerfed Wormhusk Crown, where it used to just automatically start recovery whenever you dodged, and they thought that was too strong, so they nerfed it. Now you get 2 stacks of recovery, what's it called? Restoration. 2 stacks of restoration when you dodge, and that means you are getting super healing, probably even faster than Wormhusk Max Recovery was giving you. Every time you dodge. So that has just been a totally transformative healing thing for the Hunter. Titan, technically, yes, it also works for Titan. You can get that kind of recovery behind your barricade. I'm currently running everyone always makes fun of me for saying Lorelei. I still don't know how you can actually pronounce it. Lorelei? I don't know. Whatever. The helmet where you're already getting a restoration granting solar well or solar whatever it's called. You know what I'm talking about. What's it called? This is gonna bother me now. Always when I'm recording, I like forget the names of the very important things that I'm supposed to be. Sunspots. Sunspots. You get a sunspot already when you throw this down. So Classy Restoration is probably overkill for that. If you have anything else on, probably is worth running that. Because, I mean, there's some other good situational ones. Like, I was running Revitalizing Blast when I was running Lost Sectors, which ignites champions when you stun them. So that was actually very good for Lost Sectors and soloing champions. There's some, I had this on my Fusion Rifle build with the Warlock. Solar Exotic Blows create Solar Wells, so I was using that in Mythoclast. But Classy Restoration, so I have to unlock this just in case I ever switch off this helmet, is so good. It is one of the best mods I have ever seen. The speed of restoration. When did I get this? Oh yeah, I bought this. Yeah, I need to. 29 Resilience, Heart of Inmost Light is very on meta right now. So that is one of the wildest mods we've ever seen introduced in a season. So the point is, when you combine Classy Restoration with Armor of the Dying Star, with 8, 9, 10 Resilience, and I need to get past this on Titan, it's a totally new game. You will see these mobs of ads and you will just shrug them off because it simply doesn't matter. They are not strong enough to kill you unless you are just like playing as sloppy as humanly possible. I think the only time I died in the dungeon was just encounter wipes or maybe getting booped off the edge or like failing jump puzzles. I don't think I was ever literally killed by an enemy. That was on my Warlock. And I'm not like some crazy good PvE player, as you probably know by this point. But the way this is game changing, even at 8 or 9, but especially at 10, combined with Class C Restoration, it is unlike really anything I have ever seen for damage mitigation in this game. Well, a couple of those are temporary. The resilience change is a huge overhaul, the biggest they've ever done, I think, to any stat. And even if it doesn't stay, like, this is something you should be investing in now. You can do resilience armor to focus this to get at least a minimum of 10. I would maybe I haven't tried to focus this season stuff that much, but I was focusing last season a bit. At the very end of last season, I started doing resilience focused stuff. So I got this 26, I got this 26. I don't know if I did a chest. I got this 21. So like I was kind of prepping for this because I thought it was going to be getting these other bonuses that I would care about, like bonuses in PvP and stuff. I was not expecting this massive overall PvE damage reduction. So please, please, please spec into resilience for as long as you can, for as long as this is not nerfed, and I promise you it will be like nothing you've experienced in this game before. Definitely unlock. I get this is a last row mod and I'm like ahead of people, but once you get here, the first thing you unlock should be Class C Restoration. I will just guarantee you that. Put it on whatever build you're using. It will save you even more than the damage reduction maybe, and then obviously Armor of a Dying Star is good to have on whenever. So this is what is going on now. We will see how this kind of functions when GMs roll around. I don't know if this is like enough to make us GM damage immune or something, because that kind of scales into craziness, and like normal runs of the dungeon I'm still technically over leveled for. So I'm not saying this is like the complete god mode cheat of the entire game, even if my misleading thumbnail will say something like that by the time I'm done filming this. I definitely recommend you do whatever you can to finally spec into resilience, really on any class. I know it benefits Titan more because of the class cooldown, but I promise you that this is going to be a game changer for especially harder level content. You might not notice it in just kind of moment to moment play, because enemies at level aren't going to be just destroying you anyway in a lot of activities. Like you won't notice it in the strike playlist, for instance, but stuff like harder versions of current content, the dungeon, like stuff like that, you will notice. Like you will notice how much things are just tickling you as opposed to destroying you. So anyway, maybe some of you already knew this, maybe you're still working on a build like that, but I did want to make kind of a generalized PSA about how wild damage mitigation and recovery restoration stuff has gotten this season. So yeah, let me know what you think of these changes in the comments and how long you think they'll last, because I am betting it's not going to be that long, but I guess we'll find out. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later. Take care.